Thank you, Eileen Clancy. Finally, I'm going to speak briefly and share the time with my partner, Carl Massinio, from the Partnership for Civil Justice, and then hopefully we'll have a few minutes for discussion. I wanted to address, picking up on a number of different points that have been made here, and I really want to thank the panelists because everyone has been, I think, just really excellent. I think I disagree with Eileen on the issue of protesters in the streets, and I think we have a disagreement. I don't think that people are not in the streets because of the police repression. I believe the police repression has an impact, unquestionably. And I think in advance of demonstrations, the demonization has an impact on many people who would either come out into the streets, but then are sort of told this is criminalized activity and criminalized behavior, which is something that most of us who are litigating these issues or advocating these issues really fight against. Because the point is, these are cherished First Amendment activities. Everyone should be able to come out. Everyone should speak their mind. I think there's an ebb and a flow within the movement, as always, and at this time, and relating back to what Mahdi was talking about with the election of Obama, there is unquestionably a demonstrable ebb in terms of people coming out into the streets because there was this great hopefulness. And that was the thing about the election. There was a great hopefulness that people thought, so many people who may not have been that politically active before thought, well, maybe there is an opportunity to do something, maybe there is a change. The issue becomes the next step. Is it at that moment that then you sit back and wait for the President of the United States and the Democratic Congress to do all the things that need to be done? You can see, everyone here knows, it's not happening. It will not happen. The only way that the changes will occur, that must occur, are going to be because of the movement in the United States, of education of people in the United States, of lawyers and legal advocates who are standing behind them and who are backing them, and the efforts that we make to unravel, in this particular context of this panel, the domestic spying and the mass surveillance. Millions of people in the United States are basically have been wiretapped, have been dumped in databases, not for any allegation of any criminal activity, but because they were engaged in religious activity, political activity, not criminal activity. Not criminal activity. And we have a right for two things, minimally. We have a right to have those databases exposed for people to be able to have that information identified and to have that information erased. At the Partnership for Civil Justice, we launched an Expose and Expunge campaign that we're hoping that people will join, and we'll be doing more in the coming months on this. And it has to be a two-pronged attack. It has to be FOIA demands. It has to be litigation. It has to be people pounding the pavements. It has to be people making a demand. This is a just demand. Most people in the United States who learn about this think it's intolerable. I mean, why the hell should anyone be stuck in a government law enforcement database because of your political thoughts, because of your religious activities, because of your associations, or because you stumbled into some peripheral category that then locked you in there? And as Mahdi was talking about the fusion centers, I mean, these are, this is billions of dollars of operation coming from Homeland Security on multiple levels, the local level, the regional level, the state level. And it's a juggernaut. It's an entity that has so much funding, and it has to find an enemy. And when you have billions of dollars and 800,000 law enforcement officers in the United States being told, go find the enemy, odds are they're going to find the enemy. And the enemy they're finding are political activists and Muslims and other people who are engaged in lawful activity. And that information is being pushed through and advocated and dumped in, as well as Mahdi was talking about, by Islamophobes, by right-wing activists in the United States, working hand in hand with law enforcement. And it's become a massive political tool, and one that we have to dismantle. The fusion centers are not obviously the only element of what's going on. As Eileen talked about, you have the VGTOF. You have many different databases. There's the high-intensity drug trafficking area database, which high-intensity drug trafficking naturally, as we have found, contains anti-war protesters. And the investigative data warehouse, which is like such a big, secret, huge operation, they don't even want to tell anyone about it. And EFF has been doing really good FOIA litigation on that. One wrote in, which I think Carl will talk about, but what we've done in our litigation, and as Eileen was touching on, in these demonstrations, the FBI and law enforcement are using the demonstrations as mass intelligence gathering, using mass arrests, illegal false arrests. We represent 2 classes, more than 1,000 people false arrested in Washington, D.C. in 2 different incidents alone, where we believe that the FBI used the mass false arrests for mass intelligence gathering. What we did in one of our cases, in just the last couple of months, and it's the only ruling we know of in the U.S., and we put our materials on the disc so you have it, is we demanded, as part of our relief, is expungement. And so based on that issue, we demanded that the FBI has to search their super secret databases, the ones that they won't tell anyone about. And we actually got an order from the court telling them they had to run our clients' names through, the VGTOF, all of these different databases that they're always arguing. Their argument is, that great argument, we can't tell you if you're in the database because then you're a terrorist and you know you're in the database, and we can tell you you're not in the database because then you're a terrorist and then you would know that you're not in the database and you'd have that advantage of knowing that you are a terrorist not in the database. And therefore, we can tell no one ever in the United States whether or not you, as a person living in the United States, are in our massive law enforcement databases. This has to end. So we think that that's a really good ruling that we're hoping that people will be able to start to use, and it should be part and parcel of protest litigation, that you should be doing demands for expungement. They'll tell you, yeah, we'll expunge and look at the NCIC. Well, the NCIC is just not that big of a deal. It's the criminal list. It's, are you arrested? And yes, you have to go after that. But you can't let them end there. And as I said, we've provided materials and are happy to provide more materials to people on what you're looking for and how to go find it. And finally, just as one point, when Steve's talking about the state secrets issue, we've had them assert state secrets privilege in our litigation on discovery issues, not as a game ender, but as to documents that we're entitled to. In one case, we had the government asserted state secrets, I think like 267 times. And we actually got our hands on one of those state secret documents. And we got it, obviously not through the federal government, but because the municipality was so stupid, they gave it to us. And this great state secret document was the terrorism threat assessment for January 2001, for the time of the first Bush-Cheney inauguration. January 2001, right, 8 months before September 11th. The document, I don't remember, it's about 15 pages long. The first page has this passing, scant reference to Osama bin Laden and the USS Cole. The entire rest of the document, the state secret terrorism threat assessment, multi-agency, January 2001, protesters, political protesters, what they were thinking, what their email said, where they're meeting, the anarchist bowling league meets at 7:30 on Thursday night. That's what they were doing. That tells you everything about the U.S. government's use of the word terrorism, everything about their surveillance and their intelligence gathering. It is a political tool. And it's a political tool that the National Lawyers Guild members and that the activists we work with have the ability to unravel, to expose, and to end. And I want to pass this on to Carl Messina. Thank you.